What's going on, guys? K-Pine here, and welcome back. And welcome to Season 20 of the Go Battle League. Season 20 brings with it a plethora of buffs, nerfs, and move changes, but also the shortening of the switch timer from 60 seconds to 50 seconds, where in this video, I'll be featuring some of those changes, such as the buff to Swift, the rework of Mudshot that deals more damage but generates less energy in return, but most importantly, the buff to Oranguru. Oranguru was the Pokemon I was most excited to try out this season, and let me tell you, it did not disappoint. Trailblaze got buffed, Brutal Swing is now just a better Dragon Claw, and it applies massive fast move pressure, not just on a lot of the meta, but specifically Clodsire, which is expected to be everywhere. You just have to be prepared for dark types, which is why I paired it with Wigglytuff to get that coverage, as well as the fact they form a very strong core with each other. And with that, let's get right into the battles. Alright, getting to the first battle, we lead Oranguru into Azumarill. And now this is a matchup that is drastically better for the Oranguru after the buff to Trailblaze. It was still kind of decent to it because of the super effective damage Trailblaze would provide, but the faster pacing is now a lot better, as well as the fact Oranguru wasn't really around in the Great League, in the Open Great League, I should say. But Azumarill was. So now you're going to be seeing this matchup a lot better. So now this is going to be a good example of how the matchup plays out. Got to make sure we're throwing on good timing here, 2 confusions and then the move, as we are a 4-turn fast move user against a 3-turn fast move user against Bubble. They bring in a Shadow Golurk, and look at that confusion damage. We're not able to get to the Brutal Swing, but that is 3 double boosted confusions that bring the Shadow Golurk down to below half health. They do make a move. I do decide to respect it with the shield, as most Golurk are running, I think it's like Earth Power. They end up running Dynamic Punch, and honestly, from a Shadow Golurk, that's neutral damage. That's still going to hurt quite a bit, so it's not a bad shield at all. And now we have our Quagsire into its brother, sister, whatever you want to call it, the Clodsire. And now we are lagging quite a bit through this matchup. Kind of unfortunate, but we're going to see what we could do here as we do get the shields from the Clodsire. Now they're going to be able to fire back and land with a Earthquake. Earthquake does a decent amount of damage. Fortunately, we are able to outpace to this next Aqua Tail. And from here, I have no idea what energy the Clodsire is at because of that lag. I just assume they were just going to throw right then, and I end up making the catch. So we get kind of fortunate there, as we are able to then get to the Swift on the CMP tie to the Clodsire's next move, which does take out the Clodsire, and then we do charm it down. I don't think that catch mattered necessarily, but it was very fortunate for us regardless. Next battle, Oranguru into Wigglytuff. Another meta Pokemon of last season being the Wigglytuff, so another look as to how this matchup plays out. We're going to want to throw the Trailblaze here after 5 confusions, as 5 confusions is good fast move timing. As I mentioned, against the Azumarill, which is also a 3-turn fast move user, such as this Wigglytuff, you want to throw after 2 or 5 iterations of your fast move. So we do go for that first Trailblaze. That first Trailblaze does get a shield from the Wigglytuff, and that second one, we're not able to confusion down. So we do have to throw a second one before they charm us down, and we are able to get switch advantage. So as you'll see there, Oranguru does win the 1 shield scenario against Wigglytuff. I bring my Wigglytuff into the Drifblim, which is quite a dominant matchup as we are resisting its newly buffed fast move of Astonish. And they swap out into a Licky Licky, and from here, this game is over because I can debuff it with an Icy Wind. I can bring my Quagsire. My Quagsire is not threatened by whatever move they're running, unless it's Solar Beam, but this one is not running Solar Beam. We let it go, and they concede a match. GG's. Next battle, we lead Oranguru into Cresselia. And now this is a matchup I was very interested about. We're both dealing resisted damage with our fast moves, the Psycho Cut and the Confusion, but Oranguru does hit the Cresselia for super effective damage with the Brutal Swings, while the Cresselia only hits back neutrally with the Moonblast or Grass Knot, whichever one it chooses. So they are able to land that Moonblast, and now we're able to land 1 Brutal Swing and 2 Brutal Swings. This Brutal Swing is super effective damage, but it is non-stab, as well as the fact it's landing on something extremely bulky like Cresselia. And I also see here, they are able to reach another move before we reach the next Brutal Swing. It is the Moonblast. My Oranguru is just barely able to hang on. I'm running a fairly high ranked Oranguru, so it does seem like that matchup is IV dependent as to whether or not you're going to win the zero shield scenario there, which we fortunately are able to do. So now I can hard swap into my Wig. So now, not hard swap, excuse me. Once my Oranguru goes down, I'm going to bring in my Wigglytuff, shield their move. We do get the attack drop, which is very, very unfortunate because it kind of forces me to swap into my Shadow Quagsire here. And now we have a bait call. Honestly, I should have thrown my move first because it would have given them more of an incentive to shield this Aqua Tail. So as you'll see there, that because I let them throw their move first and gave up my shield, they can just let that go and save the shield for their back Pokemon to win this game. But we get the bait call wrong, and the second we get that bait call wrong, this match is now over. As Wigglytuff's not able to get the charm down in time, but regardless, it does not matter, as I do have that Shadow Nidoqueen behind it, and that is going to be a good game. GG's. Next battle, we lead Oranguru into Shadow Alolan Ninetales. We're gonna have to check to see if this one's on Charm or Powder Snow, and it is on Powder Snow. They throw right away, so this can only be a Weather Ball. I'm not threatened by it. I can just let it go. As you'll see, these Confusions are actually doing pretty decent damage to the Alolan Ninetales. Now I'm going to throw this Trailblaze right away as soon as I get it, because as we know, it does ramp up our attack, and now this is going to do some pretty decent damage. I could survive this Weather Ball and win the zeros, it looks like, but I would rather shield that and preserve HP so I can get boosted confusion damage on whatever they bring in the back. It is a Superior, so now we're going to fire off this Brutal Swing. And since I have that Shadow Quagsire behind it, I have to get my Wigglytuff onto the Superior, so I can't swap out of this matchup. I need to stay in, let my Oranguru go down. It did its job. It took out 1.5 Pokemon. We bring in our Wigglytuff. They swap into a Shadow Typhlosion, and from here, this is looking pretty good for us. It's not a guaranteed win at this point, but it's looking in our favor. We just have to play it right. I do get a shield with that first Aqua Tail, and here, you know what? I decided to save a shield for my Wigglytuff as I think it can close out this match. So I do let that Blast Burn go on the Shadow Quagsire. I will shield up what is another Blast Burn itself as the Typhlosion built up to 100 energy. We get the full charm down, and now it's going to become a race. Can the Superior reach 2 moves? We will have to see. Here, I'm one charm off an Icy Wind, but I decide not to throw it, because that extra turn could have been crucial there as they go down, do not reach the move, and we're able to take the win. GG's. Next battle, Oranguru into Clodsire. The exact Pokemon we're targeting with this. They throw 1 Poison Sting, swap into a Licky, and here I bring in my Wigglytuff. Your reaction may be to bring into your swap into your Quagsire, and majority of the time you're not wrong. But as you'll see, this Licky is running Solar Beam. Licky runs Body Slam and Shadow Ball, or instead of Shadow Ball, it can run Earthquake or Solar Beam. So if I feel like this Licky safe swap is going to be more common than not, where they're actually running Solar Beam to bait out some Mudboy like Gastrodon or the Shadow Quagsire, and then nuke it with a Solar Beam to swap. So if you are running a Mudboy and an opponent safe swaps a Licky, that's just something to watch out for. As you'll see in this scenario, my opponent has a Dunsparce, so that Licky swap was to bait out the Mudboy. And now not only am I extremely thankful I brought in the Wigglytuff there since they had the Solar Beam, but I'm even more so now because I have my Shadow Quagsire for this Dunsparce, and we are in a very good position. Dunsparce lands a Drill Run here. Oranguru is able to shrug that off just fine, as Oranguru does have somewhat decent bulk to it. And now here I can just let the Oranguru go, bring in my Quagsire, and they bring in their Clodsire, and they concede. GG's. Next battle, another Clodsire lead. Now with this, the way this team's structured, if your opponent swaps out of that matchup, you don't necessarily need to swap out yourself. If it's a positive matchup for the Oranguru, you can just stay in, keep switch advantage, and then put your own Quagsire onto their Clodsire, kind of like I'm doing here. We are able to land that Trailblaze. I'm not able to Confusion down all the way, so I will give up a shield to the Wigglytuff to confirm switch advantage. And now I'm able to have my Shadow Quagsire on their Clawd and Wigglytuff on their Gator. But this is a resisted Shadow Claw farm down, which means they're not going to be able to get it in time. And now they're going to have to give up both of their shields to these Trailblazes. Oranguru putting in tons of work, and look how much damage that one Confusion did. Oranguru is a serious meta threat this season that you should prepare for. I bring in Wigglytuff. They go for the Ice Beam of all things against the Wiggly. Pretty sure Hydro Cannon just does more damage there, but either way, it's not going to matter, as I do have my Quagsire up a shield to close out this match. As we are able to get to an Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail will land to the Quagsire. I let this go. Doesn't matter. I can shield this one, the next one. Either way, we're in a good spot. And now I can just commit to the Mud Shot farm down here. We get the Mud Shot farm down, and now I can Stone Edge that Gator. This is more than enough to take it out. As it lands, down it goes, and that is a good game. GG's. Next battle, we lead Oranguru into Lanturn. Meta Titan of the past, but is it still meta? Honestly, I have a feeling Lanturn is still going to be meta because Surf got reworked. So now it's 45 energy instead of 40 energy, but it also deals more damage. So kind of, I feel like Lanturn's kind of in a similar situation to where it was when Spark got reworked initially. When Spark did less damage but gained more energy, and then became, I think it was something like a Bullet Punch clone, and then after that it then got nerfed, but kind of like that middle range where it was a Bullet Punch clone, that kind of Lanturn became a side grade from the other Lanturn. I feel like this Surf rework is going to make the Lanturn a side grade as well, so that's something to watch out for, as it may start to take hold in the meta again. But my opponent here swaps out of that Malamar. I swap out of their Oranguru into the Quagsire to try and bait them to swap out of Malamar because I have the Wigglytuff for it, but they bring in an Ariados, and normally that's a uneven energy. That's a great matchup for the Ariados because they have that buff Trailblaze, which is basically going to one-shot the Shadow Quagsire, but they came in down so much energy that I'm able to land that Stone Edge just as quickly as that Ariados appeared. It disappeared, and this match is instantly over as Malamar's down low in the red health. He's able to get the Psywave farm down, but we have that Wigglytuff to shut it down. I give up a shield just to respect the potential Hyper Beam. They don't have it. I don't think Hyper Beam would have KO'd there regardless, as we take that match. GG's. Next battle, Oranguru into Shadow Feraligatr. Now another matchup Oranguru has a good matchup in. If they're on the standard Hydro Cannon Ice Beam, this is an incredible matchup for the Oranguru, as you can survive it and land that Trailblaze. But that one's on Crunch. Crunch does a decent amount of damage, and I think, somebody can fact check me on this, I think after they land the Crunch, they'll be able to win the 2 shield. I may be wrong, as the boosted Confusions may still be enough, but either way, it's still a dominant matchup for the Oranguru, as you're able to spam off those Trailblazes and force those shields from your opponent. Quagsire should be firing off another Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail does land onto the Dunsparce, and from here, this is still a range where I don't think a Drill Run will KO, so I'm perfectly fine letting it go, and I will be able to reach another Aqua Tail before they farm us down, which they can't. They swap it to the Gator to help with that, but Quagsire is able to hang on, get to that last Aqua Tail, and here we get the 1-turn bring in on our Wigglytuff. So they do end up getting that Hydro Cannon off, and that is brutal because if they don't get that Hydro Cannon off, Oranguru with an extra shield here, or even Wigglytuff with that extra shield, excuse me, because Oranguru is pretty low, it's just going to be able to close this matchup out. But now we're going to have to try and do as much chip damage as possible in this matchup with these Confusions, boosted Confusions, and see what we can do. See if I can get one more Confusion in. I just can't. And now this is going to be extremely, extremely close. See if the Clodsire is running Sludge Bomb. They're not. Looks like they're on Stone Edge and Earthquake. So they go for the Earthquake there. Fire off this move. I wait a turn. See, I wait a turn there, expecting them to catch, but they don't. They fired the move off right away. But I don't think Icy Wind would have KO'd regardless. So well played to my opponent. GG's. Next battle, Oranguru into Clodsire. We know how that matchup plays out. It's a dominant one for the Oranguru. And look at this. They swap into a Feraligatr, and Oranguru is a big core breaker to the Clodsire Feraligatr core. We can let their first move go. It's just a Hydro Cannon, land this Trailblaze. And like I said, if they swap out a Clodsire lead, you don't need to swap out of the Oranguru yourself if you can force switch advantage to get your Quagsire onto their Claude. So we do go for the Trailblaze. Trailblaze does get their first shield. And from here, I just go for the Brutal Swing. An argument could be made I could go for the Trailblaze to boost up my attack, but I go for the Trailblaze as it is less energy. And in comes a Whimsicott. Looks like Whimsicott is going to go for the full Fairy Wind farm down here, but watch this. Oranguru says, oh no, you're not. Lands that Trailblaze and gets the confusion down with a Simul KO. Oranguru putting on an absolute clinic as my opponent does not want to play anymore and they concede. GG's. Oranguru into Abomasnow. Pretty neutral lead for us here. I do build up to the Trailblaze, go for the Brutal Swing. It doesn't matter. I just wanted to overfarm in case they were looking for a catch. Brutal Swing does land, and now my opponent is going to fire off a move. I let this go. I'm not worried. It's just a Weather Ball, and my opponent is not going to be able to KO with another Weather Ball, so they continue to overfarm while I'm able to land this Brutal Swing, which does force a shield for my opponent if they want to dictate switch advantage, which it looks like they do. So I can let this go. Oranguru did its job, it got shield advantage, and now I can get an energy lead onto my Wigglytuff. I will shield this as this is enough for the energy ball, which it is. Down goes a Abomasnow. Now we're going to see what they bring in. They bring in a Mudboy. It's a Gastrodon, and if this is their best answer to the Wigglytuff, then I feel like we're in a decent spot here. I can go for this Icy Wind. Looks like we did win the CMP tie here. Icy Wind's able to land. Does do some decent chip damage to the Gastrodon, and now we're able to get a... Now we're going to go for the farm down. See if we can get it. Can't quite get it as my opponent does swap out. Now here, we're going to go for the Swift. Looks like that was on the CMP tie too. A little interesting since my opponent reached the move earlier. Maybe Bone Club wasn't enough to KO from there. But either way, maybe they weren't expecting me to be on Swift. Maybe they were still expecting me to be on Icy Wind, Disarming Voice, or they just didn't know the move counts as Swift, took a guess, and ended unfortunately being wrong. Now I can bring in my Quagsire, and this is kind of just game over here because I can farm up one away from the Aqua Tails. Mudshot's doing more damage. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the Mudshot rework makes it do more damage but generate less energy. So instead of straight force to Aqua Tail, it's now 5-4, 5-4 to Aqua Tail. So a little bit unfortunate, but Shadow Quagsire does have a decent damage output, so it can still put in work. GG's. Season 20 is the massive shakeup that GBL needed, and boy is it a breath of fresh air. I do believe the Oranguru Wigglytuff core is one you'll have to look out for, as it's extremely strong. It does get core broken by steel types, but Oranguru can do decent enough to put it in a manageable range. With that said, there's still a lot to try out with this new season, and I can't wait to see what it's all about. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Love to hear what you have to say. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.